Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. If you're here for the first time, definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe, also hit that notification bell. I am your host, LaRon J, aka Steve Rogers. I could do this all day. Now, I wanted to talk about this situation here with New York mandate. Now, we all know this was, well, I can't say all, but this way that they um, implemented this mandate and the shutdown was horrible. All compliments of Joe Biden and the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi. Uh, it's just interesting because what they said was going to work didn't work. It didn't work. And one thing that they all said, they were saying like, "Oh, Donald Trump was going to shut the whole country down. We was going to go into a war." All that didn't happen. Actually, there are people right now that's on the Democratic Party that's saying, "Man, I wish we had voted for him," even though they hated him because they felt like he was allegedly racist. But Joe Biden has been doing wrong to at least the African American people for 50 years. He's the one that said he created the crime bill and we're tough on crime after the 80s war on drugs. How you put a war on drugs when you put the drugs in there? Contra war. Look it up. Uh, but that's what they did. And that was on the Reagan administration. But Congress was always held power through the Democrats for 50 years, or 40 years, since the 60s all the way up till 1994 when Newt Gingrich took over. Um, and they won. It was the new Republicans or something like that. But the whole time, the Senate and the House was ran by the Democrats. So they're the ones who put the laws in. They're the ones who voted for it. And Joe Biden took credit for that. The president, the former president, Donald Trump, he allowed all these all the inmates to get out of jail and then they were able to vote. And guess who they voted for? They voted for the person who put them in there with the crime bill. Beats me. But anyway, New York City mayor is clapping back Eric Adams at Adam Silver, which Adam Silver is the commissioner of the NBA, for comments on the city's vaccine mandate. Now, it's been atrocious what they're doing in New York. Many people are moving out because of the high taxes. A lot of the, people are moving out of Florida. It's interesting that they're moving to Republican states because of the freedoms you get there. But you want to talk about what they're doing. You're saying they're racist, but you're moving to their state. A lot of people from New York. We could talk about rappers. Everybody moving to New York or Atlanta. Atlanta is run. The city's run by Democrats, but the state is run by Republicans. Kemp. You got DeSantis in Florida. Then you got Texas. So these are the cities that a lot of these Democrats are running to from California. I heard D.L. Hughley talk about this the other day. He's talking about how great California is, but people are moving out because of the high prices and the homelessness and just the chaos there. So they're moving to these states. Georgia been open since this pandemic started, and there's really nothing, no significant spike with COVID. We all know this COVID. Well, I shouldn't say COVID on here, but let's say Cody. We all know this Cody was a ploy to get the Republicans out of the office via mandates, and they wanted to take credit for the vaccine. That's all this was. Because if you remember when Kamala Harris said, "I'm not going to take anything that Donald Trump proposed." He said she did say if the doctors say it, which is Fauci. Fauci been running the country for years. So why would you even say that? And Fauci is full of crap as well because one point he said you don't have to wear the mask. Um, Before I said disclaimer, I am not a doctor, so don't take my word for it. You can look it up on the CDC. But Fauci said don't wear masks. The mask don't work unless you have the right fitted mask. Um, P95, I think it was called, and he said it didn't work. And then the powers that be said, "No, you can't say that." So he goes back and just contradicts himself over and over and over again, right? So then he said, "If you take the juice, if you take the juice, you will not get, Cody. You will not get Cody, and you'll be protected. You won't spread it, and if you get it, you won't have to wear the mask." Then, according to the CDC, you look on the thing, and it's spiking with people who took the shot, the Cody. So New York, they the last mayor of New York, Cuomo, he a lot of people passed away because of his mandates with the old folks homes, and they've just been messing up. And then they have this you got to have a vaccine card in New York. Well, that became discrimination. First off, according to Nancy Pelosi, I had a video. She said that you didn't have to. Um, I mean, we can't. There's no way of us finding out who didn't take it and who did because it's a HIPAA law, and we can't do that. And even I got a video when Joe Biden said the same thing. So, in my opinion, they tried to force people. They try to scare people because they know most people need the government to survive in this world, and they lied because they knew they can get certain people to take it before the thank God for the Constitution to shut it down. And that's what it was. They knew they couldn't pass it. They knew it would take a little time, and if they could convince these big corporations, which corporations are pretty much evil, if they could convince them that to force their employees to do it, then we could get more people to take it. That's what it was. Now let's get to New York. I respect a lot of these NBA players, like former players, like Shaq and um, Charles Barkley, but they're very misinformed, and they're trying to say the public who disagrees with mandating uh, the juice is misinformed. Now, there's record out here. There's so many studies, not just from the CDC, but all across the country, where Israel, where they said immunity helps. If most people probably had it. Most people probably had the situation because we didn't know what was going on. You may have been sick and you didn't know. Uh, but anyway, New York NBA player for Brooklyn, Kyrie Irving, could not play home games because they were trying to force him to take this situation. Now, the interesting thing was, dun dun dun, other players who did not take the Cody, take the juice, can play in New York. So I was wondering this because I was watching Joe Rogan. I am a big fan of UFC, and he got a chance to commentate at a UFC game. I mean, a UFC fight in New York, Madison Square Garden. I thought that was odd, but he can't play. Interesting, huh? So this is exactly what Adam Silver said. He said this: this law in New York, the audacity to me is that it only applies to home players. Silver said, if ultimately that rule is about protecting people in the arena, it just doesn't make sense to me that an away player who is unvaccinated can play in the Barclays Center, but but the home player can't. To me, that reason they should take a look at the ordinance. Now, come on, like think about what that they shut countries down so that disease won't come into another country. But these are your leaders. This is what Kwame would say. This does not make any sense. And this is why we should question everything. We are the people. We are the people. It doesn't make sense. This is why we have to question what they tell us. This is a clear indication that what the things that they do, they always mess up. Intellectuals has been ruling in this country for 100 years. Think about it. Somebody made the idea to say, "Hey, let's first off, you're supposed to give African Americans 40 acres and a mule. We could go there, right? You didn't give it. You shot the president for even offering it. Abraham Lincoln. The one person behind him was a Dixiecrat, Democrats, and then they put in a law that lasted 100 years, which was the Jim Crow law. Some intellectual said this is how we should do it. We should keep these people separate. Intellectual. Interesting, huh? Then these are intellectuals. Then in 1964, they did a war on poverty situation where they incentivize people, particularly African Americans, to not be with their husband. The Monahan report was supposed to take care of African American men, and the intellectual Democrats dismissed it. So they gave the power to the woman, and you can't have a man around, and now the government is your daddy. Intellectuals. Then let's fast forward. Now you got a place of homelessness. You didn't look out for the African American men. Then you put the drugs in the neighborhood, allegedly. You know, they put the drugs in the neighborhood in the 80s. Now there's crime going everywhere. And then 30 years of not having a parent in the house because it was 25%. Before that, it was 75% of African Americans having a two-parent household. Now it's 25%. So now these kids have fatherless, people. They're fatherless now. Go all the way to 1994, and then Joe Biden decides to say, "Well, we got to stop this, so we're going to lock everybody up." So you lock all the parents up. Make this make sense. And this is the same guy who's running the country, along with the other people that have been in the thing for 50 years. And not to mention, they don't wear masks. They don't. The mayor and governor of California was at the football game, the NFC Championship, hugging Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson should have the weakest of the weak immune systems because he has HIV, I think, unless they cured it and they ain't tell nobody. And they're smiling with no mask. And this is what the intellectual said. I was holding my breath when I took the picture. Then you got Stacey Abrams and all these people just wearing masks, living. I mean, not wearing masks, living their lives. This is all propaganda. But anyway, tell me what you think about this situation in New York where Kyrie can't play home games, he can't work, and they firing people for not wearing the mask, and the teachers, and but the people who come in town can go to these venues. Leave a comment below, and I'll see you on the next video. Crazy, man, crazy.